Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond BMR. I'm your host, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. The show goes beyond just cryptids and Bigfoot. We take a much deeper dive down that rabbit hole, taking on subjects beyond our very own realms and what we may perceive as reality. We look at strange phenomena and the unexplained, such as time travel, alien and UFO encounters or existence. We explore how all of these rabbit holes somehow come full circle under one umbrella versus separate planes or wherever that rabbit hole takes us. Tonight I have Barton Nunnelly, author InHumanoids, who will get his take on these rabbit holes and these mysteries. Before I get to Barton, before I pull up text, my co-host, don't forget, this is the Bigfoot Mystery Rap channel, but our flagship is still and always will be Texas Front Porch. Subscribe if not already and share it out. Mondays, Texas Front Porch comes on at 7:30 in the East, followed up on Tuesdays by this show, Beyond BMR, 9 in the East. Wednesdays, Jason McLean Questions Everything. That's on at 10 o'clock in the East. Thursdays, Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob, 1 in the East. Followed up later in the evening with the Chiru Papers, 10 of these for Jason McLean. Fridays, we got a format change. Most of you might have heard from Texas Show last night. We got a new show introducing Friday. You'll hear more about it as the week unfolds. With that, I'm going to bring up Tex. Tex, how did that allow you, my friend?
Howdy. Oh, doing good, man. Doing good. Went and had dinner and a couple of beers with Randy and Bob Van Buren earlier. And
oh yes, always a good time with Randy and Bob. And that Randy, good guy though. I spent 3 hours in the car with him as well, and showed me all over Texas.
You still have my sympathy for that, but
yeah, he managed to clean out the car. He said, at least, which I found. I bet you probably found that surprising. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good time meeting all the fellers. So
yeah, hopefully we can do more of that. Get everybody together.
Yeah, I liked it. Like I said, second time I've hung out with you and Jason. It was fun, and another guy that's pretty fun, Tex. We met in Jefferson. I'll wait for him to get situated here before I add him here. And it's Barton Nunnelly. Hey, Barton.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, brother.
Doing great. Welcome to the show. I was talking with Tex a little bit earlier about East Jefferson and how we met some cool people, and you were one of them. And actually, I met you prior over the telephone with Josh Turner. We talked for like 3 hours. Remember that?
Right.
I think we did.
Yeah.
I think we did a podcast for Josh, right? That dropped last Halloween or something, which was cool.
Yeah.
I found that talking with you to be pretty cool. Then once again in Jefferson, Texas, we got to meet in person, so that was really fun. I enjoyed it. So thanks for coming on the show, man.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me, Rob. It's good to meet you in Texas. You too, Tex. You guys you're both great people in my view. So my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and I think you're a great guy too. You're fascinating. I'll believe it or not, Barton, I heard about you well before I even met you when I got together with you and Josh to do that. I knew you maybe a couple of years ago. I heard you on certain things. I know you don't do a lot of these, and that's one thing I appreciate you.
Right.
Thank you for that. And but
You're welcome.
Knew who you were. I knew who you were, knew about you. But you came out. We're going to get into it too in depth about the InHumanoids and your take and your theories on that, because it's fascinating. Everybody out listening here today, you got to listen to Bart when he speaks on this, because it's something else. It's yet another rabbit hole, which we try to go down on Beyond BMR. And Bart is certainly a quality candidate for this show, let me tell you. But before we get to that, Bart,
Well, thanks, Rob.
Thank you. And before we even get in that, how did you even get started with like Bigfoot and all that, Dogman, cryptids in general?
Well, I didn't really choose the paranormal or anything like that. It kind of chose me when I was 9 years old. We moved into a farmhouse on the Green River and basically spent the next 11 months being terrorized by these Bigfoot creatures. And they killed all our animals. And, you know, it was just a really scary time. So I didn't choose to get into this. And in 1987, in 1975 is when that happened. And that's when I learned the reality of Bigfoot. I knew that it was real beyond any doubt. And 1987 is when I learned what these creatures were and what they could do. So, like I said, I didn't really choose it. This field, it kind of chose me, and I just happened to be I'm just a normal guy, you know. I just happened to be born and raised in an extraordinary place, what most people would, or paranormal researchers anyway, would call a window area. So I've had a lot of crazy experiences and wrote a couple books, you know. Drew a few pictures, and that's about how I got started.
What made you go, I need to write a book about this?
Well, that was my friend Bill Hancock. He just kept on me and on me. You know, now we get online. I got online in 2005, and I get online and talk to people. And one of the first people that contacted me was Linda Godfrey. And she had a group, you know, a Yahoo group. So I got in there and started talking. And Bill Hancock, one of my friends, I talked to for several years. He kept on me and on me. You need to write a book about Kentucky and your experiences in Kentucky and all that. And I kind of brushed it off at first, but then he's, you know, after time went by, it kind of wore me down. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to write this damn book. So I wrote the book in 2007, Mysterious Kentucky Volume 1. And I guess the rest is history, I guess.
Let me ask you too. When text brought up about how'd you get in writing your first book, but it was Mysterious Kentucky Volume 1.
Right.
And let me ask you: Is that based? I'm sorry, I have not read the book. I'll have to get that. But I want to ask: Is that just a compilation of all your encounters, or things that you've gathered over the years?
Yeah, it's the things I've gathered over the years in my research. Plus, most of my encounters. There's a few things that happened to me that I haven't written about, and I might not ever write about it. But yeah, it's in 1985. I read Lauren Coleman's Mysterious America, and I thought, man, this Lauren Coleman guy, he's got to be the coolest guy in the world. Got to have the coolest job, you know, traveling across America, just interviewing people about these strange stuff that they've seen and experienced. And I thought, well, I think that's what I want to do, you know. So that's when I started really seriously interviewing people and going to meet people that's had encounters and sightings and of InHumanoids and what most people call them cryptids, but I don't call them that. You know, when someone says cryptid to me, I automatically think of a coelacanth or a okapi or a giant squid or something like that. These Bigfoot, dog-man, Mothman creatures, they're not natural animals waiting for discovery. No one's ever going to discover them or classify them, you know. No one's ever going to kill one. So, but that's, you know, basically what it's about. It's about my experiences plus all the people that I've talked to and everything that I've learned about this state. And it's really, there's no other state like it. You know, everyone's kind of biased about their home state, but Kentucky is really something else when it comes to unexplained phenomena. It has it all.
So you don't think that there's, but when you say not natural creatures, what do you mean? Not, I mean.
Well, Tex, I tell you what. We was talking earlier about the only time or the last time I got ran out of the woods was 1987. Yeah. So it was here in Harrison County, Smith Mills, a place called Burbanks Lake, and it's about 5 or 6 of us got together, and we heard for years and years that there was a big lake up there, and it had monster bass in it. And, you know, we've been wanting to fish it for years. We're all avid outdoorsmen, you know. So we finally got together and went and did that. And this, like I say, this was 1987, 12 years after the Spotsville monster incident. And so we got up there, and it was afternoon, and we had a one-man bass boat between all of us. So if only 2 people could fit on the boat, so the rest had to stay on the bank. So we walked, me and my little brother walked around the lake, and there were water moccasins everywhere. We saw 7 or 8 water moccasins just on our way there, and turns out we wasn't very well equipped for that fishing trip because it was getting dark. We didn't have any flashlights or anything like that, and so it took 30 or 40 minutes for my brother to ferry one person across the lake, and nobody wanted to walk back after dark with all those water moccasins there. So it ended up darkness, complete darkness fell with me and my little brother alone on the other side of the lake. And I'd gathered what firewood I could find, which wasn't much. It just rained a couple days before that. And we just so happened to have half a jug of kerosene with us. And so I built a little campfire there, and it was completely dark. And suddenly the woods just erupted with the craziest commotion of breaking limbs and footsteps and running. And it was crazy. And my little brother and I both knew exactly what we were dealing with, because of our experiences in Spotsville. The first tree snap, I knew what was out there, but there was more than one. There sounded like there was 4 or 5 of them, and they were surrounding us, and we both thought we were going to die, for sure, because we were stuck on the other side of that lake. It was either going to death by water moccasin or death by whatever this was in the darkness. But so it stayed in the darkness, and it got closer and closer. The smaller our campfire got, the closer the sounds got. They would stay right at the edge of the light. And I waited till they got about 20 or 30 feet from us, and I thought, well, at least we're going to see what's going to kill us, And I threw a dash of that kerosene into the fire, and it flared up real big, and we could see 50 or 60 feet in front of us, and it wasn't really heavily forested at that spot, but there was nothing there, Tex. And to make a long story short, this continued on 5 or 6 more times till I was out of kerosene, and the last time I let them get within 10 feet. And when I threw the last of the kerosene, there was nothing there to be seen, and they were making the loudest racket that I've ever heard in my life. Like I say, tree limbs breaking and snapping and popping and heavy footsteps, but no growls, no vocalizations, not so much as a hard breath. So that proved to me right there that these things can become or be invisible to the human eye. And I don't know of any natural animal that can do that, Tex. Any animal that can stand within 10 feet of me and me not see it. That's what's led me to start researching what these things might possibly be, because they're not a relic hominid. I do not believe, that's my opinion, and according to my own experience, they're not a relic hominid. They're not big stupid monkeys that we just miraculously can't find for whatever reason. There's something else altogether, and that's why I call them InHumanoids. I don't even call them cryptids anymore, because they're not natural animals. No natural animal can do that. And it also happened to me one time a few years later, Tex, in broad daylight, and with 3 other witnesses. So I know what these things can do. And there's no natural animal that could cloak like that and be so close to me and me not see it. So that's where I got my start, coming up with some kind of alternative theories about what these things were.
So with that being said, then let's just say, or someone sees a Sasquatch, let's call it a Sasquatch, and they see it crossing a road, hides in the back of a tree stump, and it kind of walks off in the shadows. It doesn't do anything supernatural. It doesn't cloak. So is that right? You're blanketed? Are you just blanketing it all, like Sasquatch and Bigfoot are all inhumanoid, or just the ones that have these supernatural elements? Because what you're saying, I kind of agree. I do agree with the fact that a lot of these things we're dealing with are part of the supernatural. I think they're part of something paranormal.
Right.
But I also think I've got to believe, though, Barton, that there's got to be a flesh and blood just creature out there as well. Or you don't, or what's your thought on that?
So my thought on that is they can be both, Rob. They can be flesh and blood while they're here. And then when they vanish, wherever it is they vanish to, they're no longer here with us. So they're no longer flesh and blood. They can be flesh and blood enough to poop, kill your animals, leave hair, leave blood. But then when they want to disappear, then they disappear. And that's, That's not something a normal creature can do, not of this world anyway. So I can only speak from experience, in my own conclusions or from my own experiences, and not books that I've read or shows that I've seen on TV or people that I've spoken to. They're from my own experiences, and there's something to these things that's not natural, most definitely. And I really don't think that that human beings have the means to capture one. Hell, we can't even study one in its own environment, and we can do that with even the giant squid at the bottom of the ocean. So, speaking from my own experience, I have to say that the ones that I experienced were both paranormal and flesh and blood. And in my point of view, that makes every one of them guilty, or at least suspect by association. So, if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
Yes.
I hold a little bit of a different viewpoint than you, but it's not far off.
Well, most people do, Tex, and I won't hold it against you, buddy. Don't worry about it.
I appreciate that, man. I do think it's like I've said over and over again. There's 3, maybe 4 experiences that I've had that I in my heart I can say they were physical creatures. Everything else over the past several years, I can't. It's, and those are those experiences are daylight sightings, and they're just behaving like an animal would, in my eyes. And I think there are things out there that present themselves as these other critters.
Right.
And that's where this paranormal behavior comes in. Because I don't think we've got as big of a population as some people think we do. I used to think we had quite a large population. Now I'm leaning towards we don't, as far as the natural physical ones go. But we've got a lot of stuff out there pretending to be these things because people want to find them, and they go out looking for them, and these other entities know that, and they present themselves as such to get their foot in the door with these people, and that worries me.
Yeah.
And I can speak to that point. I've had that happen. I haven't had one try to talk to me, but I'm not saying it don't happen. I'm just saying it hadn't happened to me yet. And I don't know what the hell I'm going to do if one says, yo, Tex,
right.
Whatever.
Well, most likely do it telepathically, Tex. So get yourself ready for that. I don't think I've never had any report of a Bigfoot actually talking with its lips. Every report I've got where they communicated through, I guess the words would be telepathically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's speaking in the witness's own language, depending on who the witness is. So that's another thing that you wouldn't expect of a normal, elusive, shy, relic hominid type creature, right? That Gigantopithecus blackie. They wouldn't, no one's ever accused them of being able to communicate telepathically or cloak or anything like that. So that theory is just, for me, with my experiences, it just explains nothing.
I got a quick question.
It's a red herring.
Yeah, I got a quick question on that. First of all, I didn't want to cut you off. I just want to thank you to Titan and Kingsworth for this early super chats. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. Sorry about that, Bart. You were talking about the cloak.
Okay,
It doesn't, or the mind speak. I guess they call it mind speak or telecommunication. It's not but telepathy. I can never say the right word.
Telepathy, yeah.
Telepathy. See, I can't even say it right. Telepathy. So let's say that this does occur. how would you even know what's communicating with you, right? I mean, obviously, let's say it's a Bigfoot or whatever it is. I don't, a dog man, Mothman, I don't care. And you get this message in your brain, I guess, and it says, meet me at the 47-yard mark in the forest or something. How would you even know what that is?
Right, you wouldn't unless you were looking at it, Rob. And everyone that tells me that they've had this mind speak happen to them were looking right at the creature, and they had no doubt who was to blame there. So it's like the man in Spotsville. He ran up into it on a rainy day. And there was an open-ended barn out in the middle of this field, woods behind it, and he was down there because the police. My dad would call the state police when things would get too scary, and have them escort us off the property. But come to a point where they wouldn't respond anymore, and they told my dad not to call police anymore. So luckily he had that friend, and he ran up on this thing in this barn. He's 6'3", and so he turned around. He was looking at a hairy belly, and he looked straight up, and this thing was looking down at him. He said he had red eyes, not glowing red, but fiery red eyes. And he reached up to, he had his rifle slung on his shoulder. He reached up to grab it, and he said the thing just froze him, and it spoke to him clearly. He said, "Don't be afraid. I'm not going to hurt you." He said, then it turned around and ran out the back end of that barn, and there was a field out there that just been disced up, and it was raining. And that's why he went into the barn. And he went out there, and there wasn't a single footprint in that field. So, again, you come upon things like that, and I know this man, personally, and I've known him ever since I was 9 years old. I know he's not a liar, and he's telling the truth. So you come up with something like that, and you're left with how do I explain that using a acceptable biological, zoological explanation, and there is none.
Mm-hmm.
And I've ran into some weird crap. Disembodied voices, disembodied growls. And I don't know, but you got when I've got stuff throwing rocks at me for an extended period of time, I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to see one. I've never seen one cloak.
You never will. You never will, Tex.
But if I haven't seen the footprints just disappear. Now I'll tell you one thing that I did find odd that I run across. We was out and we found a live oak tree that had been twisted so far that it exploded. And It was about 8 inches around. And it was twisted at about 3 feet off the ground. And it was surrounded by dead little saplings, and they weren't even touched. We looked for tool marks, track marks, all kinds of stuff. Couldn't find anything. That puzzled the hell out of me. And why are they building it? The whole structure thing don't hold a lot of water with me, but I have ran across things that are just either somebody did it, but if humans did it, there would be a lot more sign, moving heavy stuff. But to uproot a tree and turn it around and stick it back in the ground upside down. It is just hard for me to I don't know why. I mean, if these things are blinking in and out of existence, it's got to be from another dimension.
Right.
Or something like that. They've got to be physical things, but they're jumping realms of some kind somehow. You know, but how do you do that kind of stuff? That heavy lifting and everything else, and be as big as these things are, and not leave any prints, baffles me.
Right,
And
Tex.
your
And you know, if you were a
explanation,
10-foot tall ape, you would spend all your time trying to find enough calories to keep your body going, right? You wouldn't kill a dog, a big dog, for example, which is what happened in Spotsville. And you wouldn't eat the guts and the eyeballs and the tongue and just leave the rest of the body laying in the field, right? You'd have to be eating everything. You'd find large swaths of vegetation and foliage that have gone from the woods. And I've never run across that ever. And these things killed 8 or 9 dogs, a pig, and they were all mutilated the same way. They were cut. They weren't ripped open or torn open. They were sliced open. Their bellies, all their guts were removed, and their eyeballs and tongues removed. So,
and you guys,
the carcasses lay there, and not so much as a fly would land on these carcasses. The turkey buzzards wouldn't eat them. Nothing would bother them, and they laid there for months and months and months before they finally started decomposing. So there's another puzzling aspect right there. You know, eerily reminiscent of the cattle mutilation phenomenon that happened in the western part of the USA in the 70s. You know, and there you go. You have a connection there with Bigfoot and animal mutilations. So, but my point is, if I was 10-foot tall ape, I would eat everything that I could. You would have no choice, right? If you're a physical creature, you have to keep going. You have to have nutrients to keep you going. And these things don't seem like they really need it, you know, to live. I've talked to a lot of people that see them eating stuff, and, you know, and of course they get scattered and all that stuff. But, you know, there's so many puzzling questions, Tex and Rob, that the normal biological explanation can't come close to solving and answering those questions. I wish that it could, you know, and that way I wouldn't be so crazy sounding. You know, a lot of people think I'm crazy, you know, but I'm not. I'm just one man telling the damn truth. I don't care who believes it and who don't believe it. All you can do is tell the truth, and whatever happens to it happens, you know. And once you've done that, you've done your part. So that's the way I look at it. So I've been telling the truth since 1975, telling it online since 2005. And a lot of people don't appreciate that. A lot of people want it to be an ape. They don't want anything supernatural or paranormal to be about it. But I'm sorry. I'm here to tell you that it's not an ape, and there is some kind of paranormal or supernatural element to these creatures, and not just Bigfoot, all InHumanoids. Dogman, Mothman, Lizard Man, the list goes on and on and on. They all seem to act the same. You know, they don't have to be seen. We live in the river bottoms of Kentucky, you know, and like you say, Rob, there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles of forests and empty spots that no one goes to. And if they didn't want to be seen, they would not have come up repeatedly to our house almost every night for 11 months. So that elusive, shy crap to me I don't buy it. And I don't buy it because I know better, because I've lived it. And that's not an opinion, it's a fact. They did not have to come harass my family for 11 months, yet they did. So that tells me that they don't want to be, they don't care about being seen. They don't care. They know that we can't do anything to them. And if they get turned invisible, they can go anywhere they want. And it could be right in the city. Now, I've had accounts of Bigfoot seen right here in the city proper of Henderson. So eating out of dumpsters. So you tell me how they can do that, and we can't bag a specimen for classification.
You know, it's pretty interesting how you mentioned about it didn't care. It came up that it was seen or not seen. And actually, it kind of makes a lot of sense. You've heard my tale once or twice, Barton. I told to you and Josh text. You know what I'm talking about, but my encounter. And, you know, according to what you're saying, Barton, is, hell, the Bigfoot I saw, until this day, I question what it was. You know, I still have to say that, even though I've talked to 50 people. It just came out and showed itself. It was mean. It just showed it's a mean streak. It showed that the demonic side that I
Right.
thought it had, and
For
then
no reason, right, Rob?
no, I
It
mean
could have
someone's
stayed in those woods and you never would have saw it, you or your girlfriend.
yeah, it was someone's. Well, here's another thing that I want to talk about: the telepathy. Yeah, I got it out.
There you go.
I was doing a show. Somebody happens to tell me, "Hey, Delano says it meant you no harm." I talked to the lady I'm talking to. I said, "What the hell are you talking about? Delano makes no harm." In fact, I had her on the show, first show we did on this channel, or this show, I should say. So the thing about the mind, she said that this person, this Bigfoot spoke with her during my show and told me that it meant me no harm, and was sorry about the loss of my girlfriend, and then went on to say that it's been trying to get a hold of me but can't through telepathy. Excuse me. So I can't say that word, man. So here's my thing. Now I'm confused. I asked you earlier about the mind speak, and then it says you got to be looking directly at it. Now this thing is supposedly talking to this woman, and they're on opposite sides of the United States, and it's been trying to get a hold to me, and I live probably 300 miles south of where I saw this thing. So how in the hell would it be trying to get a hold of me? I agree with you. That's definitely not flesh and blood, right? That's paranormal.
Right. And if it wanted to get a hold of you, Rob, it would. It wouldn't need a medium. I mean,
Yeah.
how's this person even know she's talking to Bigfoot? How she knows she's not talking to some alien from Uranus or some,
Yeah. Yeah, Glenn, I'll say mine speak.
so
Yeah.
that there throws up so many red flags to me that it would be hard for me to take someone seriously who's telling me those things.
Mm-hmm. See, because I got a lot of people say they can talk to you from anywhere. Like a good friend of mine, she had Bama Bigfoot. She says they can talk to you anywhere. But again, to your point, I understand this. Can you understand? This is where it becomes such a frustrating thing because there'll be a lot of people that believe that it's an ancient person, tribal of the First Nations, where yes, they've been using this, conducting this type of speaking all the time, and then there's other people that, again, they say they can just outright talk to you without looking at it. So your point of view is this paranormal, not even a Bigfoot, basically, not a flesh and blood creature.
No, it's flesh and blood while it's here, Rob.
Yeah.
And it's capable of doing everything that a fully functioning gigantic body would be capable of, including crazy strength and crazy speed. I mean, just the speed alone. I mean, it just sets it apart from a natural animal. Nothing can move that fast, And then you said that when that thing stepped out of the woods and your girlfriend was in your boat, that its mouth kind of morphed into something different,
Yeah, the thing about that, it looked like originally when we first saw it, originally looked like a person with Down syndrome, looked like a human being, but with covered in reddish brown hair from head to toe, looked human-like, gray skin, but looked, like I said, off. And then then all of a sudden, man, that jaw just dropped. It rolled those eyes back. That gray skin got really tight and taut. The mouth, when it dropped, exposed two set of teeth on the bottom and top. Didn't move its lips. Yelled, roared, and screamed in unison. Creates a wake toward my boat, and I get hit with that. I don't even think it was infrasound, man. It was like a sonic boom, as far as I'm concerned, or so forth. I stumble back a little bit. Girlfriend falls off the boat, and I also get paralyzed. I see in black and white. I can't move. I turn to my right. I finally break free. I can finally see in color. I get her back in. I look. It's gone. Now, to me, that ain't Bigfoot, okay? Maybe that's something different, in my estimation. And I've talked to hundreds of people, man.
Yeah.
I'm to the point now where I don't know what to think anymore, because I've met so many people that are very highly credible, like yourself, Barton. And
thanks, Tex. I appreciate it, man.
Yes.
You're not nuts. But I like the and I've always said, just because I haven't experienced something that somebody else has doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Right.
And I think people need to have that outlook on things. I'm going to stick with I'll stick with my train of thought, but if something happens that I experienced like you have, I'm not going to try to talk myself out of it either.
Right. I know a lot of people that would try to rationalize it away, why they couldn't see 5 or 6 giant creatures around, it was night or whatever. But, that doesn't wash in the daytime. It happened in the daytime. So, like I say, Tex, a lot of people believe these things are relic hominid, and for some reason, I don't know how they justify it to themselves that we cannot find one. A lot of people believe a lot differently than me, and luckily you don't have to believe just like me to be my friend, because I wouldn't have very many friends. I'm telling you right now, because the people that are so stuck on it being an Gigantopithecus descendant or whatever, they get kind of hostile, when you have something contradictory to what they believe, and like you say, Rob, most Bigfoot sightings, they run out in the car, in front of the car or something, or they see them walking in the woods, and nothing supernatural happens. But for me personally, since I've experienced the supernatural element, then I have to, like I say, every one of them has to be at least suspect by association, because we really don't know what's going on. As far as that goes, they could be aliens from another planet flying these damn flying saucers. We don't know. And they say, well, you can't, explain one mystery with another. Well, but yes, you can if it's true. The truth stands on its own. It's like a lion. You just let it out of its cage, and it's going to do what it's going to do what a lion does. So that's all I'm trying to do, you guys. And I'm not trying to change anybody's opinion or prove anything, or I'm just telling you what happened to me and how I interpret it. And believe me, I tried to justify what happened using some kind of non-spiritism sort of reasoning that doesn't work. Nothing works unless you believe in some type of spirit, some type of supernatural creature. So if you believe in ghosts or you believe in God, or it's a lot more accessible for your brain to comprehend if you believe in that. But if you don't believe in God, if you don't believe in ghosts, you don't believe in UFOs, then you're probably not going to listen to a word that I say. So, and I accept that. That's no problem.
Well, I first of all don't think you're crazy at all. I like what you have to say, because a lot of it makes sense to me, to be honest with you. And that's the thing why we do this. This is why I have this particular show, is to take on these tougher subjects. And for me, man,
I applaud you for that, Rob, because a lot of people won't. I applaud you for that, because a lot of people don't go that far. It's called cognitive dissonance. As soon as they encounter something that's atypical or contrary to what they've already established as a belief in their mind, then they dismiss it. And that's not how science works. Science has to follow the data, no matter where the data leads, to get to a proper conclusion. So I admire you for what you're doing, and keep up the good work, Rob, and keep an open mind, because there's things out there that you just can't explain away, and I know you know that already. But how its mouth did that and went all the way across its face and showed sharp teeth and roared at you and paralyzed you, and that's not something. Do you think of any other animal in the world who uses infrasound could have done that? Could a tiger have done that to you with a roar?
No.
Could a whale? Could a whale have done that to you? No.
I don't know. Well, Tex likes to go with the killer whale theory. He says that's the smartest mammal on Earth, which it
Yeah.
might be. But I think infrasound though can't from even a. I think the infrasound from these natural animals of the woods like tigers and maybe whales. I think they just stun you for a little bit, right? Their prey, right? I mean, I suppose. Well, let me pose this question. I don't know the answer to this. Could a tiger stun us with infrasound for a split second or two and to capture us? Not that they need to
Yeah,
cap.
it's not the infrasound that stuns us, it's the fright.
Mm,
The sound. I've heard Bigfoot growling. We walked up on our front porch and we was one wall away, laying on the bed. It probably wasn't 6 or 7 feet away. And it growled so low and deep that we could feel it in our chests, But that's not infrasound. Infrasound to me doesn't have the power to do all the things that people claim that it does. It doesn't have the power to produce such negative effects in humans. It just doesn't explain. And Kumbo Baker's the one that came up with that. I don't know if you know that or not, but yeah, he also said that Bigfoot was the closest animal on Earth to humans. And I'm like, oh, really? He's a relic hominid. Yeah, I think so. I said, well, I told him my experiences, and I said, how do you explain that using the relic hominid theory? He said, well, now that you mentioned it, Bart, come think of it, there's a few things that's happened to me that I can't explain using a relic hominid theory. I said, well, like what? And he said, well, I saw this was about 9 foot tall, had to weigh 800 to 1,000 pounds, running down across a gravel road, fresh gravel, and never made a sound. And when it went into the woods, it ran into the thicket, into some bushes, and it didn't just jump into the bushes or run through them. It just kind of faded into the bushes without moving a leaf. I said, really, Coon, you have some rethinking to do, buddy. And he said, yeah, you're probably right. I got some rethinking to do. And, I don't think now he's so convinced that they're almost human, because they're not. They're humanoid, but they're not human. They might be half human and have something else, but they're not human.
Yeah, okay, here's what I've always said, for the most part. And like I said, I think I can't put them all in the same box, because I think there's different things out there that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. And I think, one, I appreciate I appreciate you going when you say I'm not trying to change anybody's outlook.
Right.
I can only tell you what I've experienced and go off of that. Period. And going off of my experiences, I'm thinking that it may not be the whole infrasound thing that we're dealing with. Somebody presented a lot of evidence with me. They've done a lot of research just here recently. And it's leaning more towards EMF.
Right. I'll talk to that same person you're talking about, probably Tex, and we've been talking about that for a while now. So the only reason that I can think of is why flies and turkey vultures and carrion, eaters wouldn't eat these animals that the spotted monster left, because they were they had radiation poisoning. Or, that's the only thing I can think of. So I think these inhumanoid creatures emit some form of radiation, whether it's low levels or high levels, or I don't know, but I don't think it's infrasound doing it. It's mind control and some kind of radiation. Your body's reacting to that. So
well, and I touched on this. I can't remember what. I've done like 3 or 4 shows in the past 24 hours.
Oh wow!
we're seeing more and more people take Geiger counters out in the field with them.
Right. Smart. That's very, very smart of them.
And when they have these encounters and stuff, they're detecting a radiation spike. You know, why is that happening? And it's when you throw that in there with the EMF, there's so many things, there's so many ways it could affect us. You know, we just don't know.
Sure.
And bottom line, I don't think we fully understand what we're dealing with.
That's for sure. That's for sure, Tex. You know, my theories, like I say, they're just my theories based on my own personal experiences, but they're still just theories. You know, I can't prove anything, but I know that there's no natural animal up there that's walking around here that's throwing off low-level radiation. That's just not something that's going to happen.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you too, Barton. I know that because I watched some of your videos, and I've seen you always when you entertain, much like I do on my channel. You know, you'll read encounter stories from people if they're willing, you know, to have you air them, and you read them. I've seen you. I do the same thing on my channel. And I know you've probably come across, much like I have, about similar encounters where these creatures, InHumanoids, as you would call them, they just turn into something like, even I hate always talking about my encounter, but even preface something like mine, where you get all these encounters where they do make it metamorphosis. They look like something weird, then they disappear. Now, we're pretty much saying they're not relic humans, right? What the hell you think that is, though? Like, I always say mine was a demon, and some people tell me it's Sasquatch. Well, I got to go with my gut on this, and I'm 100% not sure what the hell it was. But what do you think? I mean, that's how baffling. It's been 5 years, dude, and I can't give you a definition.
No, I get it.
No, I know you're not mocking me. I know this how frustrating this is.
Right.
It sucks. It's been since 2018, Bart, and I don't know what the hell I saw. And this is what I do for like a job every day now, pretty much what I'm doing right now. But anyways, what do you think is if it's supernatural, is it a demon, something with malevolent intentions, or just a figment of our imagination?
Well, I think when it comes to all these dimensions that scientists are speculating, they think that as many as 11 dimensions exist, you know, alternate dimensions. I think the only dimensions that we need to worry about as people is the physical dimension and the spiritual one. And I think some of these things, if not all of them, are coming over from the spiritual dimension. They're taking on bodies, much like I don't know how religious either one of you fellows are, but I'm sure you've heard of the Nephilim theory. It's floating around. You know, it explains a lot more than the relic hominid theory, actually. But you got to understand that the Nephilim were already here when these so-called angels came down and mated with human women. Those were the Gregori, not the Nephilim. So I do, Rob, honestly think, and it's my honest conclusion, that it has to do with the biblical fight of good versus evil, God versus Satan. You know, I do think it all boils down to that, and not just the Bigfoot and inhumanoid phenomena, but just about everything in life boils down to that. And so, you know, Melba Ketchum, she was ostracized for saying stuff like that, and a lot of people are ostracized for even considering the Nephilim as a theory. But to me, it's a valid theory, not necessarily Nephilim, but the other things that came down here and did what they did. So to me, that's the one that answers more questions than any of the other theories that I've heard in 50 years. So demonic, yes, Rob. I think they're at least half demonic. Yeah.
So
agree with you.
When you say demonic, let me throw this at you. Why? And there's a lot of people out there that think these things are evil. They hands down, period. Okay. If they are, I mean, that leads to, demonic evil. Okay. Why are there reports of these things being helpful, being friendly, rescuing kids? That doesn't sound right.
Right.
So what do we do with that?
So what I would do with it, Tex, is bear it in mind, and keep in mind that everyone's human. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone could be wrong. But I had a guy that years ago that started messaging me, and he started out with good encounters with these things. And he shot a deer. He lived in upstate New York, and he shot a deer. He couldn't find it, and one of these things put it right there on the trail going home, and started doing things to help him. Right, and all I said was just be cautious and don't trust them 100%, because sooner or later they're going to show their true nature. If they're helping you, they want you to think they're nice and they're friendly. But you know what, Tex? About a year later, these things was trying to eat him, get him to come screaming at him to come out of his house, so they could into his front yard so they could get him, and they were screaming at him telepathically. And the scary thing was he started walking for the door. His wife wasn't home at that time, thank goodness, but he started walking for that front door, and he said, Bart, I couldn't stop myself. It was unbelievable. I reached out for that front door handle, and I grabbed hold of it, and I was just about to open that door, and I remembered what you told me, your own experiences and what you think these things were. And I started praying to Jesus. And after I started praying, they left. So
yeah,
a good creature, a good animal is not, in the name of Jesus, is not going to offend it at all. But a demonic one, it will, and it'll flee from the presence of that name. And I know they do, because I've done it myself, and it works. So people that come to me and say these things are friendly and helpful, and they're helping us do this and that, and they're forest friends, and I'll just say, well, just be careful. Don't trust them all the way, and sooner or later you'll know the truth, just like I do, and a lot of people know the truth just like I do. And Tex, when I first came online, I thought I was the only one in the world with experiences like mine.
Right.
They were so crazy sounding. I knew that if I told everybody everything that happened to me, then they would think that I was a nut, and no one would believe me. But
Right.
I still had to do it because of the truth. So eventually the truth would come out. And to those who are trusting these things right now and are leaving them gifts, offerings, it's like that's the same to me as worshiping these things almost.
That's what I was just fixing to say.
Your mind on these things, you're laying offerings down at the altar, whatever the altar is, a rock or a tree stump or whatever. But it's just like they used to do to the deities of old. So these things aren't new. These cannibal giants aren't new. They've been talked about and spoken about in every culture for the last 3,000 years. So there's really nothing new under the sun, and it's all a matter of perspective. And if these things were trying to help me today, Tex and Rob, I'm telling you right now, I would not accept their help. I would not give them anything in return for their help, and I would pray for them to leave me alone and just let me be. And that's what I did about 20 years ago. And I spent my first half of my life being plagued by these things. But after I prayed for some relief, it came. I never did let these things scare me out of the woods or scare me away from doing the things that I love to do, which is all outdoors. But after I prayed that prayer, and everything was fine, and I was telling, I'm down in LBL, and I was telling late Johnny Henderson, we're trying to find that dog man down there and kill that damn dog man. It's been killing people, even kids, and I don't like that. not in my state, but I told Johnny, I said, I don't think it's going to come out. He said, why not? I said, maybe because I'm here. It's like I'm anathema to these things now. I tell you what, I could later, he'd have me in the worst spot in the LBL as far as dogman activity. And I told him, I said, Johnny, I could lay down on this road. We was half a mile from the car, 2:30 in the morning, blasting out shofar horn sounds from our Bluetooth speaker. But so I could lay down in the middle of this road, Johnny, and sleep like a baby until morning and wake up. And I know I'll wake up. I know that if these things were meant to kill me, that I would have died when I was 9 years old. So I don't fear these things, and someone needs to do something about the ones that are killing kids. And you see all these, all these people, and they're huge people, 6'3", 6'4", ex-Navy SEAL, ex-Marine, this, ex-that, ex-cop, and they don't do nothing. They talk about these things killing kids, but yet they won't go out and try to stop that. It's not right. It just don't sit right with me, and I'm not like that. So I'm just hoping that the good Lord lets me have one more encounter with these humanoids, and it's with the beast of LBL, where I can swing my sword at it and kill the damn thing.
So let me ask you this: your take on the massacre at LBL that everybody talks about.
Yes.
Supposedly they did kill one of these creatures.
According to a recent witness, they did, yes.
So what do you think about that? I mean, do you think now? I mean, because I think they've taken bodies. I think they've got bodies, possibly living ones that they are studying. We just don't. We're not going to be in the know about it.
What I think's going on there, Tex, is there are two types of dog men at least. One is a supernatural shape-shifting type. I know it's hard to believe, but I've talked to too many people who've seen it happen, and it just can't all be lying. And how would they lie about that crazy stuff? But the other type is a government genetically engineered chimera, and they've been doing it since the 40s. So, and that's the type that can be killed, and that's the type that I hope I have the fortune to run into, where I could send these things a message down the LBL to stop killing people. So I think you have one supernatural element of one of the creatures, and the other creature, which is 100% flesh and blood, it can be killed. And I guess you could say I'm betting my life on that, but it's just not about that. It's about doing the right thing and trying to stop something evil that's going on.
So I've heard that there were, more than just that family killed. Of course, there's the bow hunter story.
Sure.
But
there's 18 people so far killed down there.
Yeah, that's what I was fixing to ask you what the number was up to. That's
according to Martin Groves. Yeah.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, there's a lot of you get two responses when you start talking about that stuff up there locally. They either won't talk to you, or they'll just flat out, jump all over you about it. But,
right. Yeah, they don't want people to know about it, and it's not because of they're protecting their $6 million a year tourism industry. It's because they're protecting a probably $100 billion government experiment, genetic experiment. That's why.
Yeah.
So I basically believe that most of the state parks are pretty much feeding grounds for these government experiments that they've been creating for the last 70 or 80 years. So sounds crazy, I know, but it's that's what I believe is happening.
Well, it's not really that crazy. I've heard of similar things that I've looked into. Now, you talk about the chimera perhaps being genetically bioengineered, for the military as war machines, let's call it. But what about the bipedal dogman? We hear about the dogman soldier that walks on two legs, some supposedly strapping armor, which I don't see why they would need it. I know that was in a movie, but a lot of people say that, they're not just a chimera, Bart, but they're talking about 7-foot beasts on two legs that are programmed by our government in their brains for one thing and one thing only, is to kill and extradite the
Right.
enemy. So what's your thoughts on that? I mean, you
I believe
mentioned,
that 100%, Rob. I believe they got these things in underground facilities, and the metal sounds that so many witnesses are coming forward and talking about are hidden doors, hidden metal doors opening and closing. And they let these things out. You know, how would they feed such animals, right? It would cost them so much money to feed these huge, some of them are up to 10 foot tall or more. So they don't spend a dime feeding them. They have a way that they can call them back in, and they just let them out. And whatever they get a hold of and eat, that's what they eat, whether it's bison, a deer, cow, a human, a horse, it doesn't matter. They feed themselves, and somehow they have a way to call them back in. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, you know, I was talking to Kerry Arnold one time, and he was saying when they went down in Florida, they kept finding these unmarked boxes out in the middle of the woods that had no wires running to them, no nothing. And I got to thinking about it, and I wonder if that's some kind of electronic fence or something like that.
Right, and I'm wondering that too, Tex. How would they control such fearsome creatures that they create? I don't know, but I know their technology is light years beyond what they're letting us, what they're revealing to us. Right? They probably can do all kinds of crazy stuff that we know nothing about, and we would have known nothing about this Chimera program if they hadn't introduced a bill last year trying to limit the government's power to create human-animal hybrids, and the bill was shot down. So as of right now, there's no limit to what they can do, and I know that they've been doing it probably since Operation Paperclip and back in 1940s when they brought the Nazi scientists over, you know.
mm-hmm.
And I know they've probably been working on it since then, and that's a long time to have perfected whatever they're making.
Oh, I firmly do believe they have mind control over these things. You know, they're sitting in those, as you mentioned, there are these underground military bases.
Yeah,
and
they're everywhere.
There's a group down, and I know there's several in Michigan, but I know that they're there, and I know that when I say I know, this is just my thoughts, right? It's not like I know for a hard rule fact, but we're all not naive, and they perfected mind control. They were doing that with way back with Germany's, right? When Nazi Germany started coming up with that, you know, Nassau, you know, hell, Nassau, you know, was built by our captive Nazi enemy, you know. So I don't put anything past anybody, and I know, and not even with the dogman species, you know, there's, you know, with this transhumanism going on, artificial intelligence. You're not even going to know when you're talking to somebody at your local grocery store if they're in fact a human being.
Right.
Literally, that's what it's coming down to.
Yeah, it's just crazy. But that's our government for you. You know, love this country.
Yeah,
it's the greatest country on earth, the greatest country that's ever been on earth or ever will be. But our government is total. I don't know. They're acting like lunatics. So nothing surprises me anymore when it comes to the crap that they do.
Well, what got me was it's been several years ago now that when I heard about the UK instituting a law against killing any kind of chimera, and I heard that it was similar to the bill you're talking about, but from what I understood, this one passed in the United States.
Really, I hadn't heard that.
That it was also that they had also passed a law against harming any something based chimera. And you have to wonder, why would they do that if this stuff didn't exist?
Right.
You know,
because they do exist,
exposure, but we just don't know where to look for it.
Yeah.
and it's not being made public. That's just that's my belief. You know, the disclosures are out there if you really want, if you, depending on what you look at, and
Right.
you know,
Concerning that law, you know, I guess I'll just have to worry about that law when I break it. Until then, I won't worry about it.
You know,
when and if I break it.
Oh, no, you're not in the state. That was Oklahoma. I thought maybe you were in the state with the $1 million bounty. You heard about that in Oklahoma? It was.
Yeah, I think it's actually up to 3 million now.
No, jeez.
Yeah.
1 million.
It doesn't
for
matter
a
if
dead
it's
one.
3
I think it's
billion.
1
No
million
one's
for
going
a
to
dead one,
collect a
3 million
Bigfoot.
for a live one.
Huh?
I said it doesn't matter how much money they offer. No one has the
No.
power to collect a Bigfoot. No human being on earth. Now, if they do that, I'll come on your show, Rob, and say, "Hey, everybody, I was wrong.
Yeah, no,
I've been wrong about all my conclusions. No problem. You know, I've been wrong so many times in my life. It doesn't bother me to be wrong again and admit it."
Well, no, I mean, with your experiences, man, what I've gone through, and many people that I talk to, text. I mean, I'm in your camp, man. Now I have my own separate opinions on the side, but we're pretty much together on this. I think. I mean, again, one day, Bart, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pen out my description of Bigfoot, and if I did it once a week, just every Monday for the next 10 years, every time it's going to be different, man. It's going to be different for me.
Your description of the thing you saw?
What I think it is in general. If you said, hey, give me your description of Bigfoot or Dog Man, it'll be different every time.
Yeah.
It would be.
Right.
And that's just me being honest, because I think 75% might be the same, but there's that 1/4 element, man. That 1/4 element that's still got me hooked. And I can't figure that part out.
Sure.
Yeah, and thank you, Beacon. She corrected me. The law is carbon-based chimera is what the law was passed against harming.
I'll have to look that up.
So,
yeah, I wish I could give you my opinion on that, but unfortunately, I don't know anything about that. Well, I do think it's pretty crappy for the government to pass a law telling you that you can't kill one of these things if it's trying to kill you.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, I'll be the first to break that law if one of these things come after me or my family.
Absolutely.
You know.
Oh yeah,
if it's
me or if I'm able to, I'll put it down. But
right.
I mean, we hear so many stories about them getting shot and not even, you know, like it bounces off of them or they just absorb it. But
right.
Even people will people, I mean, they'll take a full clip and they don't know they're dead till they hit the ground. You know, they don't even react. So, and the size of these individuals, people may be hitting them, you know.
Oh yeah, they are.
They're just not reacting until, you know, that adrenaline wears off. You know, I don't know.
Right. These things can be killed, Tex. The mystery of Bigfoot would have been solved in 1975 because we had a rooftop full of people come to our house one night. You know, half of them probably didn't believe what we were saying, but they all brought their guns and their pistols and their rifles and their shotguns and their deer slugs, and they all went up on our roof and sat up there for several hours waiting for one of these things to appear. And when the Spotsville monster did appear, it sounded like World War II up there. And you never heard so many grown men screaming and hollering. They knocked a ladder down. They couldn't get down off the roof. One of them fell off the roof. That's how scared they were. So they all unloaded into this thing. And the next morning, there was nothing there other than another carcass of a dead dog, mutilated just like all the rest. There was no blood, no footprints, nothing. So
wow.
I don't think bullets can kill them. And anytime that I talk to someone who says I killed Bigfoot, I have to kind of look at that suspiciously.
Yeah.
You know.
I think
Sorry,
so.
I mean,
Well,
no,
No,
I'm
that's
not
great.
anyone to call anybody a liar or crazy, but
Yeah.
right,
you know,
right.
if you say you killed a Bigfoot, then at least have enough wits about you to take a finger with you if you can, or something.
Yeah, do
You know,
something right. Yeah, if you did, take a finger. It'd be interesting to see if you've seen it laying dead, sprawled in front of you, and you took a picture right there over it, and if it turned out to be a blob squatch. Now that would be,
right?
I'd like to see
Well, even
that.
if it turned out perfectly, Rob, no one would believe
No
the
one would
picture
believe you.
anyway.
Well, I know. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you
Right? You
don't.
got to have that finger. You
And
got to
that's
take that
exactly
finger,
right.
man.
Yeah.
You know, you put out a blob squatch and you get beat up for it.
Yeah.
If you get a good picture, it's a fake.
Yeah, so it don't matter. I don't think I'd tell anybody. Well, I've told my encounter story, but I think if I don't know if I even had, if I had a finger, I don't even think I'd turn that into our government because they probably would never turn up anywhere.
Right?
They lost it. They would tell me, right? There's no evidence.
Yeah. That's the government cover up of the Bigfoot phenomenon is real. You know, people think, oh, that's crazy. Why would they want to cover that up? You know, but they have reasons, you know, for wanting to cover it up and for not wanting people to believe what's going on. And it has nothing to do with the lumber industry. It has nothing to do with money or financial economics or anything like that. It's just they have their reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'll tell you what, it's confounding. It really is. I mean, because when you get deep into this subject like we're talking now, and you're just left shaking your head because the more answers we try to get, the more questions we come back with.
Right. Well, there's one theory text that explains it all, but it's only one, and that's the supernatural element
Yeah.
theory.
Well,
It
it's like
explains all. It answers every question that you need to ask. Unlike any other theory out there that has no answers at all. You watch people, you know, they speak on TV and they've been doing this for 30 years and they're just chasing their own tails, running around in circles.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, it's time for someone to come out and tell people the truth and break that narrative that everybody's been spoon fed for the last 50 or 60 years. You know, it's the narrative is not the truth. It's not the truth about these creatures. The truth about these creatures is that there's something beyond our scientific ability to explain.
And I think you're right too. And sure, as a kid, I've seen ghosts, and now I'm just saying that because what I have to tell you is kind of weird. I've seen ghosts. I think a lot of us have, and I'm fine with that. But I tell you what, when you talk supernatural and you talk about these things being just paranormal, I talked to this guy Bob from Germany, and I told him about my encounter story. He says, "Man, you were marked by, you better look out. You'd be marked by a Bigfoot and stuff like that." And I said, "Okay, well." Don't really believe the guy when I listened to him. And I was a rookie at this, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And certain people were telling me that anything paranormal, supernatural, you can take home with you. So it's funny, Barton, and I don't say this as a joke. I was even telling Tex, a lot of people know this. Ever since had the encounter, and Barton, I might have told you this too. I'm not sure, but I've told this story, which I don't get anymore. Thankfully, I get that mist that'll come down my hallway. And you talked about Jesus or the Lord. Yes, I'm not religious. I haven't been to church in 25 years, but I do believe in God and I say my prayers every night. That's me.
Me too.
That's the extent of it for me. But
right.
So this mist is coming down the hallway, circling my chair, and I'm watching TV, and I am watching some ghoulish, crazy, creepy movie as well. But I know that I'm up and I'm looking at TV. I see this mist coming down. Now it starts circling my chair and I go to kick at it. I don't think right away anything evil or ghostly. But now when I go to get up, I can't. I'm paralyzed, just like I was paralyzed the day I saw the Bigfoot. And all I can move is my eyes. I circle my eyes around the circling chair and I'm looking at the TV. I know I'm awake. People suggest it might be sleep paralysis. I doubt it. I don't think it was. So anyway,
Yeah.
this went on for a long time, and I was really very scared. I'll be honest. I was shaking in my boots. Finally, it went away. I can't tell you how long. I talked to a lot of people after that, and they tell me I should do the cleansing of the house, bless the house, rub incense all about the house. Well, you know what I didn't do? I didn't do any of the suggestions. A couple months go by, nothing happens. And now this same thing starts creeping down the hallway again at me. Again, I'm terrified. I know I'm awake, but you know what I did though? I started saying the Our Father and the Hail Mary, and as soon as not even 20 seconds into either one of those two prayers, it went away. Then I did go get the house cleansed after that, and I haven't had a problem since. It's been probably over a year now. So my question, I had to tell you that story, but my question is, I'm wondering if maybe something with my Bigfoot encounter had something to do with that. Maybe I was marked. Maybe that was a supernatural, paranormal, malevolent type of force,
Yeah, well, you'll be surprised, Rob, about how many people that see Bigfoot, if you question them further, they have a history of paranormal activity like ghosts. They lived in haunted houses. They've seen Black Panthers. They've seen UFOs. So that's not surprising to me at all. And, all the episodes that Josh Turner and I recorded, including yours for Paranormal Roundtable, I'd never spoken to you before about any of your encounters. And when you started telling us about all this stuff that happened, and then it was like, yeah, wow, that's, it's happening to a lot of people. And then the next person that we interviewed, same thing happened. Bigfoot, orbs, ghosts. It was just crazy. And this person after person was telling us the same thing. So there's a definite connection between all these unexplained phenomena. There really is. You have to look at it all as a complete picture instead of looking at one piece of the puzzle. You look at the Bigfoot piece and that's it. You don't pay attention to any of the other unexplained stuff that's going on. Well, you'll never see the big picture. So look at it all together, and you'll see pretty easily that there's a connection there. And it's up to you to explain that connection in however way that you can, your mind can wrap around that. But there is one there. There's a connection between Bigfoot and UFOs and ghosts. They're all connected one way or another. Sounds crazy, I know, especially to people who don't, who believe Bigfoot are just apes. It sounds impossible, maybe even, like I'm a lunatic or something, but really I'm not. I'm just someone who's been looking into this stuff for a long time, 40 years now, and it's it's things that come to your attention if you're not a biased researcher and you have an open mind and you don't have an answer before you start looking, right? You'll come to the truth, and it shouldn't take you that long. It shouldn't take you 30 years to come to the realization that all these things are connected, and they're all probably from the same source, just different manifestations from the same source to get you to believe something that's false. And you say, well, why in the world would these demons appear like Bigfoot, take on the bodies of ape men? Well, to the scientifically minded, that ape man represents the missing link between ape and man. So scientifically speaking, that would crush the creationists and uplift the Darwinists, right? Mm-hmm. So in UFOs, their main message to mankind forever has been, you're getting too powerful, you're going to destroy the earth, we're not going to let you destroy the earth, we will interfere, blah, blah, blah. So the person who don't believe in God would say, okay, well, I don't have nothing to worry about. These extraterrestrials, they're not going to let everyone, destroy the earth and kill everybody. Well, you're putting your faith in them, the ETs, and not Jesus. So with ghosts, why would they want to be ghosts? What possible thing could it get you to be thinking there? Well, it says in the Bible, when you die, your body goes to the ground, your spirit goes back to God, and you have no more thoughts until Judgment Day. Well, according to ghosts, you do. According to ghosts, you can stay around your house You can interact with your loved ones, a little bit. You can't really do what you want, but you're still there. The ghosts say that you don't go anywhere if you don't want to, which is total. Everything that I've just mentioned to you is anti-biblical concept. So
I've heard those same questions or the same hypothesis where when at death, you have the opportunity to say, you have a choice to stay, go, which I guess would be to heaven or hell. Because I believe in both, since I do believe in God, I believe in heaven and hell. So at death, they ask you, or God, or some being, right? Do you want to stay on earth? Do you want to go to heaven or possibly hell? And of course, you're not going to pick that. Or do you want to come back as something else? That sounds pretty far-fetched. And, Bart, I don't think you're crazy, but I have these crazy ideas I come up with, not this on my own, but by talking with people. And a lot of things you say, my man, is right on the money. And what's your thoughts on that? And we're gonna go for another 9 minutes. And you do believe in the alien theory then as well. That could be part of this whole mix.
Excuse me. I'll tell you what, Rob, I don't believe in aliens at all.
Okay.
Now here's why. I believe people are seeing what they're thinking is aliens, but they're not. They're just a different manifestation from the same diabolical source to get you to have a paradigm shift and to get you to put your faith in these aliens from outer space. It also tells us that mankind isn't a divine creation, as the Bible says. It puts the doubt in your mind and like, well, wow, God, put humanoids on all kinds of other planets. Maybe endless amounts of humanoids. And there's nothing special about us. That's anti-biblical. And each one of these unexplained phenomenon, each has their own little deception that goes along with it. And if you just see Bigfoot and there's nothing exemplary or, you just see Bigfoot, you're still going to spend a lot of people will anyway spend most of their time researching Bigfoot, looking for knowledge about Bigfoot, where you should be spending maybe a little time at that and a little time at something else. We could all use some churching up, Rob, text,
Yeah.
But if you're obsessed with anything, and you're going to follow that obsession to the exclusion of all else, and that's another way that these things can get you and get a hold of your mind. So when you're properly protected against those things, they're powerless. And that, to me, they're powerless to me. That's why I can go down to LBL with a straight face and think that I can actually make a difference down there if I see one of these things. I've been down there time and time again, and they won't come out. But I think it's because if they do come out, they know what's going to happen. And I'm going to try to kill one of them. And so I have the armor of God, and I don't fear these things. There's only one thing I fear in this whole world, and that's God. So He has the power. This world and this life is like a 2 or 3 breaths, and then it's done. You're gone. But eternity lasts forever, and He has the power and the control over that. So He protects me when I do stuff like that. And I'm not trying to go out there and be some kind of modern day Van Helsing or a lot of other stuff people have accused me of. It's not me.
Yeah.
I don't care about any of that. All I'm trying to do is keep my word to a good friend of mine that passed away.
You kind of do look like the modern day Van Helsing with that big old sword you got over your back, and which is pretty awesome, by the way.
Well,
thanks, man.
I gotta tell you,
bullets don't seem to do much about these things, so I figure edged weapon might have more luck. And if I empty my gun into it and it keeps coming, then I'm going to draw my sword and I'm going to do what I can that way.
Yes.
Well, Barton, I got to tell you that there's worse things to be called.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm just saying, Tex, I'm not putting on airs. I'm me, and I'm me. When I turn this phone off and I won't go into my living room, I'm still the same person. I don't act, and I try to be anything that I'm not. And I'm just out there trying to set something right and fulfill my word to one of my friends that passed away. So that's what I'm doing. I'm not trying to be some kind of star or cryptozoological whatever. You know, you don't see
Well,
me on TV every night. You know,
Yeah.
I turn down most of the offers that I get to be on TV because that's not who I am. I don't chase fame. I don't chase any of this stuff. I'm just trying to do what's right and keep my word. And then you ask Josh Turner if I don't keep my word. That man's got me to do things that I swore I would never do, which is speak at a conference and get on a damn airplane. And I've got on 2 of them for to keep my word to him. So I do try to keep my word if I can, and that's what I'm trying to do. Nothing else.
Well, I'll tell you. You know, I may not share all your views, but I respect the hell out of you, brother.
Same here, Tex. Same here, buddy.
Yeah,
And,
Bart.
I wish you luck. I wish you and Rob luck, and whatever you guys are searching for, whatever answers that you need to find to bring you some peace of mind when it comes to these things. I hope you find them.
Well, I got to tell you, it's, you know, I got one laid on me the other day, and I got, you know, told that I was abducted, and I'm still trying to get my mind wrapped around that one because I had a missing time episode and lost like 5 hours, and
that's not good news.
You know, so I don't know. I think I'm still in denial because, honest to God, I don't want to be one of those people.
Yeah. That's just a message for you, Barton, from Sandy.
Okay, yeah. Tell Steve I said hello. He's a great guy. I'm writing some stories for him, Rob, and I heard that you started writing for Steve too.
Yeah. I'm starting my 3rd script already. I've dropped one.
Excellent.
Yeah, and then another, and then I got another one coming out. So it should be pretty sweet. I'm happy for that. Thanks to Steve Stockton and all the
Yeah,
gang
he's
out
a great guy. I'll be sure to watch those too.
Absolutely.
I try to catch all my good friends' videos, but you know, there's not enough time in the day. I got so many friends since that Dogman conference. You know,
Yeah.
It's just I can't really keep up.
I tell you
need
what,
to subscribe to Texas Front Porch. I just hit me that I haven't done that yet, but I do. I try to support all my friends, and that's why I come on your show. And you know, I've been on Betty's show and a bunch of shows, you know, with my friends, and I do try to show them support. And I just want you guys to know that I think a lot of you guys.
Well, we appreciate that.
I do
and
appreciate
you're welcome anytime, man. I mean, it's because I know that. I mean, we could go on for hours and hours discussing this topic. You know,
well, we've only just begun.
Yeah,
so we're already out of time, Tex.
But
just like Josh and I, he'll call me up and we'll talk for like 7 or 8 hours before we even know it. You know, it felt like 30 minutes, but it was really 8 hours. So.
Oh, it happens all the time. We can, you know, if we didn't monitor or watch the time, it could be 3 hours. But you know, there's other things that we got going on, and plus, I always like to have you back in segments on maybe perhaps Texas Front Porch down the road. You know, we have 5, 6 shows during the week. Everybody, you gotta subscribe to our channels. Texas Front Porch, please subscribe on YouTube. Bigfoot Michigan Rob, subscribe to on YouTube. Siru Paper, subscribe. The Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, please subscribe to her. Hey, Barton, where can we find you at, man? All the talking I'm doing. What about, I know that you don't like to, you got a book, you got things going on. Tell the people where we can find everything.
Right. I actually have 4 books written, working on the 5th one. You can get them all at Amazon.com if you want to read some more stuff from crazy guys like me. But I also have a YouTube channel, InHumanoids with Barton Nunnelly, and a Facebook group with the same name. You guys just come on over, and we have a lot of fun. We try to have fun, and come on over and check us out if you got a minute.
Yeah, well, I'm for sure going to check it out. And I know for everybody watching the show, in the link, the description, I got all Barton's links to his books and everything. So I appreciate it if you guys all go over and check that out for Barton. Again, thank you for joining us. I'm going to fade in some of the music. I don't know if you're going to hear it. Maybe not.
Well, thanks for having me, Rob. It's good to talk to you and Tex. Good to see you guys again.
Maybe
one of these days we'll bump into each other again in real life.
Like I say, well, you'll see us around. I plan on hitting these scenes, you know, wherever around town, around the United States. Yeah, definitely. I'm interested. I had a great time. This is my first year doing it in Alabama and in Texas, and I'll be with Tex for a long time. So You'll be seeing a bunch of both of us.
All
and
right.
everybody. Yes, thanks very much. Thanks everybody in chat. Until next time, BMR is out.
Night, everyone.